So today we have an invited talk about VIVO, which is an ontology-based current research information system. And we have two speakers with us today. So Christian Hauschke, who has been working in TIP in relation to VIVO activities in the Open Science Lab since 2016. And also Dragan Ivanovic, a professor from the University of Novi Sad, who has been also working with this project since 2021. So, welcome Dragan, welcome Christian. Thank you very much for accepting this invitation. And I would say, without further ado, please, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for the nice introduction. So I would keep this talk in English, so we have the same discussion with those of us who are not speaking German so well. If there are questions for Dragan and maybe difficulties with finding the terminology, so that's not a problem. We are used to talking to people all over the world about VIVO. Just go ahead and ask. So I will start with the longer part of this presentation with a general introduction to VIVO and a quick intro into a research project that we just started, a BMBF project, BMBF funded project. But yeah, let's just start. So what is VIVO? As Leila already mentioned, it's a research information system. It can be seen as a research institution's knowledge graph that connects and integrates the representation of scholarly output, so research information or scholarly metadata, and it can be used for reports, visualization, and analyses. It has a lot of features, and in this short time, we can hardly grasp the minimal features that are relevant, but I think you can get an idea what it's about. So with VIVO, you can input information, you can process it, you can connect it. There are functions for search and visualizations of scientific activities. It is being used to identify experts. For example, it's and the last bullet point, it's called an expert search system or expert finding system. In a lot of universities, it's been used by marketing departments or communication departments to connect journalists to researchers. When there's a question, we need an expert on AI in education, then you can enter this keywords or these research areas in your research information system, in this case VIVO, and you find the person that the journalist might want to talk to. Or if you're searching for someone to collaborate with, if you know you have to find someone at a US university and you want to work with someone from Columbia, for example, you go to the VIVO and you search for the capability that you want to have. It is a research profile system. That means it is able to deliver web presentations, web profiles of actors like organizations or persons, of projects, of events, of whatever you can think of in science. And with this, it increases the visibility of an institution's activity in the web. It has some features for network analysis, which I will show some of for, and it is being used, especially in Germany, in a lot of Leibniz institutes for the evaluation of research output. For example, the Leibniz evaluation, which TIB just had last month, and the yearly reports to the ministries and Leibniz headquarters. VIVO is not only being used in research institutions, it's being used on a national level too. For example, there is one VIVO, I think it's the biggest in the world. It's the BRCRIS, the Brazilian CRIS system, which is currently, I think, 1.5 million researchers and profiles in it. And they are aiming at having 7 million researchers in the database. It has some integrations with Kibana, which is an add-on for data analytics, which is shown here. It's integrated in VIVO. You can search for publications, for different organization types, etc. And then you have connections between all the different things that you have in your VIVO. Another VIVO on a national level is the Forskningsportal. I think I get the pronunciation wrong, but it's research portal in Denmark. It's basically 3 VIVOs on this next to each other. They have one which is being filled with proprietary data from Web of Science, Scopus, and Digital Science. They have one that is being filled with data from their local CRIS systems at the universities. So all universities in Denmark are working together. They all use the same research information system internally. And now they're preparing one that is being filled with open research information. I think it's from OpenAlex, and it's meant to be published relatively soon. I don't have a release date though. The main research, the main application is the use as an institutional research profile system. There are lots of them. For example, this is from the Texas A&M University, one of the VIVO members. They have created their VIVO profile systems, and what you can see here is a relatively typical VIVO with these tabs you see: overview, identity, additional document, info. This is where all the metadata ends up, and or these tabs on top: home, people, organization, research. This is how it's structured out of the box, more or less. It's being used in Germany too. This is one example which I find particularly interesting. This is one of the University of Osnabrück. In Lower Saxony, the universities are mandated to publish their third-party funded projects after from the last year, and in Osnabrück, they are doing this via VIVO. So some universities are doing this as tables and PDF files and other things that you cannot reuse. And the University of Osnabrück decided to do this as a graph and use this as the foundation to create a bigger research information system. In the FID Bau Digital, this is FID Fachinformationsdienst for the Germans library service for the communities of architecture, urban studies, and civil engineering. We created the so-called Forschungsatlas, which is aiming at mapping the research in these 3 disciplines in Germany. What you can see here is the front page, and you see it's different. It's the front pages look different. So there are always different designs. It's highly customizable. We put a map here on the front page because these researchers wanted to have a map, and what you can see on the map are conferences and organizations in these areas. VIVO is an open source software. It's community supported. That means there are no big companies involved. There's no vendor login. It's completely based on open source and open standards, really 100%, and it's based on linked data technologies. What you can see below is, it's now a bit older screenshot from the insights function of the GitHub repository. There's always action. You can always see that it's alive and kicking. There are always pull requests and new issues and merges, etc. And I and Dragan will come to this a bit later, how the community is working, because I think that's an important aspect when you think about an open source product. Features is only one aspect. And it's licensed under BSD3 clause license, so it can be completely reused. The VIVO community is not easy to describe, and no one knows how big it is. So we have around 170, 180 registered institutions. In this registry that we have around 75, 80 pages in use in 19 countries. But I think I have a relatively good overview about the VIVO institutions in Germany, and the VIVO institutions in Germany only registered themselves to, I think, 50%. So no one knows how many are really in the world. It's a lot, and it's very diverse. South America is growing strong in the latest time. We have different meetings where this community comes together. For example, there's one which gives a strategy for the whole development. This is a VIVO leadership group. We have one group, this is a committers group, where the team meets that decides which editions of the code are really taken into the core. There's an open development interest group every week where you can just ask questions or suggest your code changes or discuss about technical things. And then 2 times per month, there's the ontology interest group, where there's the discussion about the data model, the ontology, additions, problems, and sometimes it's just nerding out on some interesting things that someone finds interesting with regards to our topics. We have more than 500 registered members in the VIVO Slack. Lots of them are not regularly active, but there's always some activity, and it's the best tool to connect to this community globally. We have 2, and I talk so much about the community because I think this is the most important aspect when it comes to an open source project. We have regular German meetings. So the TIB organized 6 or 7 workshops, and in 2023 we had a meetup in the framework of the SWIP conference in Berlin. We have a mailing list, which is not really used, but we're in the VIVO Slack too, and that is much more used. And for this year, we're planning another VIVO workshop. It will be either in Hanover or in Mannheim this time. And if you're interested, we will share the slides, of course. If you're interested to see what we're doing, the meeting notes, etc., are all open in the Lyrasis wiki. So how does it look like? These are some things from the VIVO of the TIB. What you can see here, left on top, is a profile of my colleague, Ina Blümel. She's a professor here at the TIB at University of Applied Science in Hanover for information science. And you see a typical profile. You see an overview, publications, research activities, teaching activities, services she does for the scientific community, and some other things. You see some simple visualizations like a publication production graph. You see a link to the co-author graph, which you see right on bottom. And in this co-author graph, you can jump from one co-author to the other as long as they are in the VIVO. And on right top, you see an organizational profile, looks a bit different, but you see the same pattern again. You have these tabs like overview and affiliation and etc. This is the structure of everything in a VIVO. There are different institutions using different visualizations. I'm just showcasing this here so you see it's relatively similar structures. You always have these tabs with these different so-called property groups where you have different descriptions. What you see on the left, for example, is a profile where you see research projects listed. On the right, there's an example for a free text field. It's a research overview, Lebenslauf CV it's called here. And there are a lot of possibilities to change it. The search functions can be customized to whatever you want to have because the flexibility of the data model and the usage in the applications is one of the big strengths of VIVO. There are some functions for integrating all the metrics and peer review information. To be honest, I'm not a big friend of these. I'm not a big fan of these because they are external tools that are being called from the browser of the user. I would like to have something where the information is integrated already in the VIVO data. We will see if we can work on this. Technically, it's of course possible. We just have to find a good data source. What's deeply integrated in VIVO is the usage of SCORS vocabularies, so Simple Knowledge Organization System vocabularies. I know that ZBMed is very active in this field too. You can just upload your SCORS vocabulary and then you can use it as research areas, as classification for publications. So it's just available there. This is a profile page for a concept. This works very good. Here you can see the different connections that are being taken to organizations, to persons in this case. Linked data is a research area of these persons and others. It's just an excerpt. The concepts are used too in the so-called capability map. A capability map is linking concepts to persons. With this, you can search, for example, the same example, you can search for linked data, and then you can see who is working on this. When you now click on these blue dots, you see the name of the persons, you get the profile on the right side, and can directly go to the profile and find out who is working on what and who's connected. This is a feature which is really useful for larger organizations especially. I once showcased VIVO with some demo users, I think 40 users, 40 professors out of 250 or so at a smaller university. And there were three professors working on age supporting systems in different faculties. And the vice president of research immediately wrote down the names because he said he is relatively sure that these persons do not know of each other because they were from so different disciplines. And he said there is a key research area in our university that no one knows of. So this is one of the strengths of a knowledge graph, of course, that you see connections that you would miss out on else. There are a lot of other visualizations. I won't show everything. This is one that I particularly like. If you have publications that are mapped in Web of Science, you can see where they are located or where an organization's research is located in the so-called map of knowledge. This is a concept that was very strongly further developed by Katie Berner. If you're interested in this, please contact me. I can give you not so much more information about this, but the contact and something really interesting to read. Just, I think last year we were working on establishing some more user-oriented semantic features. One of them is the customizable filter for the search. We want to be able to put competency questions in the interface. What you can see here is a search filter, category, organization, persons, publication type. So you can search for something and then you can filter. We have on the right side, when you're logged in our VIVO, you have some more filters, something like, is it a TIB publication or not? Or you can filter for concepts or for journal peer review system. And basically what's behind it is Sparkle queries. We can just define Sparkle queries, put them in one of these filters, and then we can use it directly in the front end and can do it either for the public or just for logged in users. There are different types of roles. This is already implied with what I said before. So we have public users, then we have somehow something like a hierarchy of users. Self-editors are persons who can only edit their own profile, up to root, who can do basically everything. And then there is a rights and role management where you can create custom roles, something like editorial team for publications or curation of project information and things like that. So coming to the linked data, to the ontological part of VIVO. VIVO is completely based on ontologies. There is a VIVO ontology, and there are a lot of classes and properties, data properties and object properties that are inherited or loaned from other ontologies. The whole concept of this is relatively old, and the development of the VIVO ontology is already in the works for some years too. So a lot of these ontologies are relatively old, but most of them are still around. So it was an early design decision to go for a FOA, friend of a friend ontology, as a basic ontology to describe persons and their relationship to each other. It was early on decided that BIBO would be a good ontology to describe bibliographic metadata. And after some hiatus, it's in development again, and it's really still a very useful ontology, and that turned out to be a really good decision. SCOS is being used for concepts. We have the Cito ontology for citation information. The geopolitical metadata and even the individuals are coming from the geopolitical ontology from the FAO. This might change in the future because it's a bit outdated, and some other and a lot of basic concepts. So the higher level concepts are borrowed from the OBO ontologies, especially the basic framework ontology, the BFO. In VIVO, you can not only use ontology, but you can work on the ontologies. So it has an integrated ontology editor. You can create new ontologies. You can create your own local ontologies. This is what most institutions do, because every institution has some specialities that they think are not covered by the VIVO ontology. What you can see on the bottom of the screen is one ontology that we created, the KDSF VIVO extension, which is the Kerndatensatzforschung from the Commission of Research Information in Germany, the CAFID. We did the extension with the KDSF 1.3. The KDSF 2.0 was just released, I think, a month ago. We will work on that too and try to customize the VIVO with the KDSF 2.0. With this integrated ontology editor, you can really work. It's not like Protégé, but you can really create ontologies. You can connect to super properties or subclasses, and you can set the permissions even that are being used in the VIVO applications. It's really a useful tool. VIVO has a built-in reasoner, which allows for logical inferencing, and which is then saved in a separate knowledge graph. So VIVO is making use of Apache Jena, and there are a lot of Jena models in the background. One is for the asserted statements, where everything is being saved that is being entered via the interface, and then there's one for the inferenced statements, so that you can easily just remove the inferenced statements and restart the inferencing. This is a very useful design decision. How does the data get into VIVO? So I already said you can enter information manually. This is especially for smaller institutions interested. There are some, we call it semi-automated import processes, and then the automated import. The automated import is basically useful when you have things that have to be done repeatedly. For example, you want to connect to a personal management software like SAP HR, or if you have an identity management software, something like Active Directory or something LDAP related, then you can connect it and get the person-related information directly from there. Sometimes even the organigram, the hierarchy of the institutions, etc. Sometimes there's project management software or a transfer software for research transfer, knowledge transfer. All these systems can be connected. For one institute, we just connected customer relationship management because they are creating they have so many gremia and committee meetings, and they wanted to have all of this in VIVO, so we connected it for them, and now they have all the information connected with all their other research activities. External databases or data sources can be connected too. There are established tools for doing this with PubMed. We are currently working on integrating OpenAlex with VIVO. And there are some tools different tools to do this. One is called the VIVO Harvester, pretty old but still working. And that's a stable environment. The partially automated import is something that we're using a lot when we're helping institutions or disciplines to get one-time imports in their VIVO. One of our Swiss Army knife is OpenRefine with the RDF extension. You can just upload a CSV or any structured metadata, and then you create an RDF skeleton, which is something like a pattern of the RDF that you want to have outputted later. And then you just export it, do an upload, and that's it. Camera is being used for semi-automatic imports too. It's being used, for example, by the Technical University of Dresden heavily for their mobility atlas, which is a VIVO 2, and it's being used in 2 or 3 FIDs currently. I think FID Move and FID Material Science, at least I think a third one too. And a lot of institutions are working with scripts, which just take information from one data source and write into the VIVO via Sparkle update or other means of import. And for smaller institutions, there's always the possibility to just enter metadata manually with your hands on the keyboard. So I would like now switch to something which is currently happening at TIB. So we're doing a lot of projects with VIVO, and one that started basically beginning of the month is 2 years. So officially it started in January, but we started due to hiring persons, etc. We started at the beginning of the month. It's a BMBF project called GROBI, Graphical Observatories for Bibliometric Analyses. We're working together with the Leibniz University of Hanover, with Annette Hoppe. And it's located in the funding program for science studies and higher education research. And the objective of this is to develop a reference implementation for bibliometric observatories. With the bibliometric observatory, we do define as something that allows observers, so researchers or research admins or journalists or the broader interested public, to observe what's going on in a specified area of research. That could be a research institution, that could be a journal, that could be a geographic unit, or all research that's being funded by a special funder, let's say Volkswagen Stiftung or so. And we want to build something that lets the researchers or whoever, the stakeholders, observe the activities over a long time and is updating automatically. We want to make this a reusable infrastructure, and we only want to use open source software, and we only want to use open data. And the focus so is make these approaches available to a broader target group. We are working together, as I said, with Annette Hoppe from Leibniz University, who is an expert in visual analytics. And we at TIB, we bring in some expertise in library information science. What's being done in this project and the other part of the project is the development of a graphical user interface with interactive visualization options. And basically my idea, so my part of the project is we will steal the best ideas from the visual analytics teams and we will integrate them in VIVO. What you can see here is a rough project plan. I think you have all seen project plans. Let's see how it really works. So currently we are in working package 1 and 2. We assess the what we want to do, which data we want to use, which approaches we want to take. We're discussing already some data formats and workflows. And whatever we will do in working patches 7 and 8, we will put it in a VIVO and we will make it reusable. And I don't want to go into too much technical details. You can always ask me, and we are happy to discuss with you through the project, through the whole time of the project, how far we are. So the first thing is, but then that's important, we are going to create together with the VIVO community Docker images that can be customized and that will serve all these use cases that I just outlined. And for these use cases, we will implement the visual analytics approaches. And for first start, we are going for a journal or a series of proceedings, the analysis of an institution or consortia of institutions that's still open, and a geographical unit. And in an exploratory optional phase, we are going for a funding instrument or funding institution and a specialist community, maybe together with an FID. So, Dragan.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, hello everyone. So I'm the reason why actually today's meeting is in English, because I'm not a German speaker. But thank you very much for invitation for this webinar. So basically, I'm a tech lead for the development of VIVO platform. As Christian said, there is a VIVO ontology, and then on top of that, there is the VIVO platform, which is basically adoption of Vitro, which is the heart of VIVO, which is a generic ontology web editor. And then this is specific for VIVO ontology, let's say the VIVO platform, which is built on top of Vitro. And I will try just to briefly explain how the community is working in the aspect of this technical development, and just briefly to mention some of our plans. So regarding some roadmap, some first plan is to make simple installation via Docker of VIVO, which means that some institution can quite easily set up VIVO, run it, then brand the VIVO, meaning change the typical colors, institutional colors and logo, and then also, if it's possible, harvest the information, for instance, from DSpace or from OpenAlex or some other data source, in the meaning that VIVO is representing in this scenario some reflection of data from OpenAlex database or from DSpace for that certain institution. But of course, with all, let's say, semantic web features on top of that, and with some nice visualizations features which are already in VIVO. Besides that, we would like to improve also some accessibility level, let's say, in VIVO, as well as to make optional integration with Elasticsearch. At the moment, it's working with Solr, but after publishing the next release, it should be also available to switch to Elasticsearch, which later can lead that you can use, for instance, Kibana, and then create some nice dashboards. Besides this, there are also some other plans, such as to include data distribution API and some options to make repositories based on some templates and so on. Usually we are publishing one, let's say, minor release per year. It was the practice, at least in the last couple of years, since the moment I have joined as a tech lead. So I'm expecting this, let's say, release, let's say, just before the summer. Usually it's at the beginning of July, but it might be so June, July, or something as that. The next plan after that is to work on making GraphQL API, which will enable even building some more modern UI, front UI applications and so on, and even fetching the data based on some queries. So it's possible now by using the Sparkle query, but it's not a nice way to transform then in some JSON, which might be used for some front UI builder framework or whatever. Then we will probably spend some time on let's say, introducing some data analytics dashboards and so on. Probably it will be based on Kibana once when Elasticsearch is merged into the VIVO application as an option for use as a search engine. And here, in this roadmap, the last topic is the most complicated. It's about disambiguation and the duplication and enabling to have multiple automatically fetched sources, which means that you can fetch the data from OpenAlex, from DSpace, local DSpace, from OpenAlex as a global platform, from Web of Science, from Scholar, and from some other sources, and then also to have the engine inside the VIVO, which will enable you to help you in cleaning up the data, which is the most tricky part when you are trying to, let's say, fill the data ingest the data inside the VIVO. Next slide, please. Yeah, about some implementation processes. As I said, usually we are publishing release once per year, but how we are making decisions, what should be there? Usually we are when we have some idea for some new feature or in the case also when someone is reporting some bug, and there are the options to run to open a ticket. We are using the GitHub ticket system for this purpose, GitHub issue system for this purpose. Then we might discuss it at some of our, let's say, weekly meetings, or via Slack, or via, let's say, GitHub issues comments. All three options are possible. I prefer, to be honest, discussion at meetings, because it's always easier to make it clear what is expected, or what is the issue which is not working, or what is expected in the feature. It's much easier to define, let's say, specification of requests and so on. After, let's say, the issue has been discussed, and we might conclude that it's not really present, some bug, that it's just specific for some institution and can try to via comments explain how it might be fixed without any additional implementation. So it might be some bug in data or some setup of the server environment or whatever. But it might be really bug which we would like to fix, or it might be really the feature which we think is of general interest for wider community. It might be that someone is requesting some feature which is special for some university or for some country, and in that case it's questionable whether it should be the part of VIVO code base, which is widespread over the world, or it should be just a local implementation of the team which is involved in that university or in that certain country. It's not a definite rule that if something is specific for one country, we are not going to implement that, because it might be that later some other country also requests something similar, or it might be that it's possible to implement that to be configurable. But anyway, after the discussion of new potential feature or bug, we are making decision whether we should go in the implementation or not. If we decide to go to the implementation, then that ticket might be assigned to someone who expressed the interest to work on that. After the implementation, a pull request can be opened. For pull request, we can again discuss that whether the approach for the implementation is the best one, whether it's well designed, and so on. And of course, we need to review pull request and to, let's say, we can provide some feedback. So usually at least 2 reviews are expected from the VIVO committers team, who are providing the feedback regarding whether the feature is working or not, trying to test it, and also trying to review the quality of code and try to give some directions how to improve it to be easy later to maintain or maybe extended and so on. Customized, also adapted for some specific solution and so on. Once when we are satisfied with the number of new features we implemented, and when everything is reached in accordance with our roadmap, we can start in preparing the release. Usually we are publishing the testing release candidate and spend some time on testing of that. Usually it's announced to the community that it might be tested. And then once when it's released, we are announcing that we publish the new release with the list of features. So usually using the email list for that and Slack channels. And also, of course, improving the documentation to cover also the new features. Next slide, please. About some resources. So the main resources regarding some technical parts. So we have GitHub repositories inside the organization VIVO project. Those are the main, let's say, repositories which are under the maintenance of VIVO committers team. There are the VIVO and Vitra as 2 main projects. We have also some others, which some of them are actually already part of the history. For instance, the internationalization projects such as VIVO languages and Vitra languages, which are outdated in the last version of VIVO. So we changed the approach how we are using that. But besides that, we have also the VIVO community organization, in which anyone from VIVO community can create some repository and can implement something and share with the rest of the community in the case that someone from the community is interested in that feature or that, let's say, small project, which might be, for instance, ingestion of data from the specific sources or whatever. For tickets, I already said that we are using the GitHub issues, and they are all located in this VIVO repository. At the moment, we have more than 400 open GitHub tickets and in total more than 2,000 tickets. We have also project boards. This is the actor project, is this project number 8, where we are trying to organize our tickets and try to synchronize them, to organize which one depends on another and so on. So it's more for technical people to make it easier to follow the progress of the implementation. We have also the wiki. There is a lot of, let's say, visitors there. You have here the statistics in the brackets. And we are using the wiki for any documentation we are needing, and also for minutes from our meetings and so on, to make everything transparent, let's say, in our community. There is also the website, which is some official presentation of VIVO as a product. You have also here the statistics about the visitors of the website. It's, I think, WordPress at the moment. We have also Slack for communication. We are, of course, using the Zoom for our online meetings. And we have also the mailing list. And the next slide. Yeah, and this is probably the last slide of our presentation. Of course, you're very welcome to join us. You can be more active or less active member. You can be just observer, let's say, who can join our Slack channel and just listen and jump in if you find something interesting. You can also regularly or occasionally visit our Tuesday technical meetings to express your interest or that you're interested in some feature or that you would like to see some feature which has not been mentioned and so on. Thank you very much. That was all from my side.